This is the Fleshrender build, and we are going to make our Earthen Bulwark explode to cause massive damage and eliminate every monster in the sanctuary. This build is perfect for killing all the bosses and pushing Pit 100 or higher with ease. In this video, I will show you how it works, the gear, the skill tree, the Paragon, Spirit Boons, HORADRIC powers, gems and robes. I'm Zaior, and if you are one of the hardcore ones when it comes to building characters, this one is for you. Let's get into the video. Before starting the explanation of this build, I want to say that this build is focused on pit pushing and killing game bosses like Belial. This build needs quite a specific gear in order to function correctly and not have problems when using it. It's true, that is hard to build, but it makes up for it with the massive damage we cause to enemies. All of this is thanks to our main weapon Fleshrender, which, when we activated one of our defensive skills, deals X amount of damage to nervy poison enemies. And this is multiplied by 50% for every 100 points of willpower. So, this is already our first indicator that stacking willpower will be one of our priorities to cause more damage. The defensive skill that benefits the most is Earthen Bulwark, thanks to the weather and air damage multipliers we will use for this build, especially if we use items like Basilisk Prayer. First, we will need 10 seconds or less on Petrify so we can reset it constantly when entering battle, especially when facing bosses, because when we hit a boss with Petrify, its cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds. That way we can cast it repeatedly. We will achieve this with gear that give us a lot of cooldown reduction and the Myriad Stone Gem, which give us 25% cooldown reduction to our Catalyst skill, in this case Petrify. I have this cooldown time with the gear I will show you later in detail, and with the gem. It gets just under 10 seconds. Look at how it resets every time we hit the dummy boss. So, the idea of casting Petrify repeatedly is not to cause the most damage possible, but to reset all our other skills instantly. This is the special effect of Petrify when you put 5 points into the skill. That way, we can cast Earthen Bulwark and cause as much damage as possible. Look how hard that skill hits. Use Cyclone Armor to activate the natural balance aspect and Debilitating Roar for defense and damage. Okay, we understand how the build works against bosses. Now let's move to the push part, to clear trash in the pit. In this build, we will use Flicker Step. In this case, Flicker Steps will help us reset Petrified's cooldown when we move through enemies. I will show you how it works so you can see how Petrify resets instantly. I recommend having boots with 4 seconds cooldown reduction. That way we will dash through enemies and activate Petrify and Earthen Bulwark at the same time, just like I'm showing now. This is the most important part of starting the Fleshrender build and understanding how it works. It's a bit tedious to play, I won't lie, but with some practice it can become fun to push the pit easily. And especially if you are farming bosses, they die instantly. The gear is demanding, we all know that, not in terms of damage, but to hit the perfect cooldown values for this build. I will leave my gear here so you can follow it and have a reference. We start with Basilisk Prayer, no dab here. We will increase willpower since our main source of damage. For the chest, we will use Shroud of False Dead, guys. If you can craft these chests, do it immediately. It's the best mythic in the game. If you don't have it, you can use Insatiable Fury. For gloves, clearly we want willpower, attack speed and chance to make enemies vulnerable. The tempering will be wherever overpowered damage and petrified duration. The aspect we will use is Virulent, since we will be using Rabies to cause poison damage and also deals 50% more damage to enemies infected with Rabies. Super good combo for this build. For pants, we will go with Thibault's Will, which give us 20% more damage when we are unstoppable. And Earthen Bulwark provides that benefit. Raise the all stat affix to get more willpower. The boots, like we said, will be Flicker Step. You can raise the movement speed here, it's very useful. Our main weapon must be Fleshrender. As we explained earlier, our defensive skills will deal damage when cast on poison enemies. Raise the Backlash affix, which will increase our damage significantly, and willpower as secondary DA for the weapon. The totem plays a key role in this build, since we need one with cooldown reduction. If you get one with GA, even better, so we can double upgrade willpower in Airidas and once for cooldown. Otherwise, you will need at least 2 cooldown upgrades in Airidas to get Petrified down to 10 seconds. The tempering will be Rabies duration and wherever overpower damage. The aspect we use here is super important, Vehement Blur, since in addition to boosting our damage, it gives 2 skill ranks to our ultimate. This is very important, since it reduces Petrified cooldown even further, mandatory. For the amulet, affixes like Willpower and Envenom go great. If you can add Toxic Claws or Quick Shift, even better. Tempering will be wherever overpower damage and Petrified cooldown reduction. The natural balance aspect will help a lot. After casting Cyclone Armor, our Earthen Bulwark gains 105% critical strike damage. The first and the most important rank for this build will be Airidas. Here it's mandatory to have GA in cooldown reduction and if possible, in willpower. If you want to safely have Petrify a lot cooldown, upgrade ultimate cooldown reduction all 3 times. Otherwise, you can follow my gear. The other ring affixes like willpower, attack speed, and overpower damage will help with full damage. Tempering will be wherever overpower damage and Petrify cooldown reduction. The aspect we will use here is Challenges Dev. The skill tree isn't too complicated. I will explain the most important part since the most important things to understand in this build are the gear and how it works. We will start with Earth Spike to add the first point, same with Heart of the Wild and Predator Instinct to reach the next abilities. We will go with Earthen Bulwark, our main damage skill. Use innate Earthen Bulwark to apply extra damage to the build. Use Preserving Cyclone Armor to pull enemies in from time to time. This helps us dash through them and make optimal use of Flicker Step. Backlash is super important for this build in terms of damage. Look at the huge multiplicative damage it gives. Debilitating Roar to fortify, reduce recipe damage by 40% and increase hours by 25%, sorry. Another important skill will be Rabies, which poison enemies and adds significant extra damage. Use Natural Rabies to increase its spread range. Make sure to put all 5 points into Petrify. It's mandatory. Those 2 extra points you see there come from the Vehement Brawler aspect. The key passive will be Ursine Strange, since our Earth skills will be Weather skills. The Paragon Born, guess what? It's the same as Boulder, Pulverize, Landslide, Earth Spike, so we will go over it quickly. We start with Headhunter, which fits this build perfectly since it increases our willpower. Second Born will be Earthen Devastation. It increases our Earth skill damage, in this case Earthen Bulwark. Glyph here will be Earth and Sky. 10% more damage to vulnerable enemies. In the third board, Survival Instinct, with Keeper Glyph. Fourth board, Handed Malice. Give us more damage versus poison enemies. Here we will use Spirit for more critical strike damage. Last board, Ancestral Guidance. It activates when Cast Rune activates, since with this build is the only way to spend resources. The glyph here will be Dominate, which helps us a lot to deal more overpower damage. The Spirit Bones we will use Awareness to reduce damage taken from elites, Swapping Attack to increase the casting speed of Petrify, Avian Wrath for more damage. Bolster works perfectly in this build since we will be casting defensive skills constantly. And the last one, I wasn't too sure, but I went with Overlord to apply extra damage. You can also use the Obsidian Slam to sometimes deal more Earth skill damage. For the Horadric powers, we will go with Disintegrate and the Nebulous Extract Infusion to reduce damage by 10%. The Arcana we will use Bloody Charm to execute enemies, Shifting Powder to help increase movement speed, which works well with this build, and lastly, Fractured Core to eliminate enemies' auras. The gems we will use, Idol from Below, give us 6% more life and core stat, Scornful Light for more damage, and the most important gem for this build, Myriad Stone, which give us 25% cooldown reduction to our Catalyst skill, in this case, Petrify. The runes are very simple and will activate it constantly. First pair, San Shan. When we activate our ultimate twice, the Shan rune will activate. And in this build we are activating Petrify all the time. The second pair, Jul Cax. If we cast 8 skills with cooldown, Cax activates. Perfect for this build. Well, my fellow druids, that's it for the Fleshrender video. I will leave a run of a Pit 100. It's a build That's a bit complicated to build and understand, but it's an S tier build when it comes to pushing. I hope this helped you understand the build a bit more. I recommended it for pushing or boss killing. When it comes to farming, we have got other much better options. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. See you in Sanctuary.